Welcome to Mantis Monday, and this week I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be making enclosures out of these. To start off, this is all we're going to need. A cheap £2 glass cutter, a straight edge, a pair of gloves, and a whole lot of these cheap £1 or $1 picture frames. Because if we open these, we end up with a piece of glass cut to the right size, perfect for a nymph size tank or maybe a jumping spider. So our first port of call, gloves. Make sure we've got a nice pair of gloves on. These are just gardening gloves. They might look a bit manky, but they're actually clean, believe it or not. Now, we get our piece of glass. And I'm just going to use a straight edge. You can mark this, it depends how big you've got in. On the end here, we've got a wheel. What I'm going to do is drag that wheel across the glass once. So let's level this up with the edge of our glass, so it's not wonky, like so. And start just past the glass. If you can see there, I'm starting here. And you're just going to drag in one line all the way across and off the edge. So, cut our piece of glass, just score it, you can see that. Score line there. They should snap apart, but if it's happy, it should get a nice cut like so. And now what I'm going to do is just get this bit of sandpaper over the edge and we cut a piece of glass. The most annoying thing about this is I have to keep taking my glove off to actually stop the camera. It's ignoring me. A bit of rough doing sandpaper should be enough. Both sides. This is really thin glass, really quite hard. So you cut, to be honest. There you go. 2 pieces of glass. Now we can start making an enclosure. I would normally use silicone sealant, but after reading on the old internet, I found that this is actually better than silicone sealant, and as I don't need it really airtight, or watertight should I say, this seems to be the best stuff. So I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. Let's get in it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is tape up the pieces of glass and then we'll stick a bit of glue on them and see what happens. Be right back. Okay, you've probably seen this a million times online. And simply tape up our little enclosure how we want it. You see here I'm using the world's unstickiest sticky tape. That's why I've moved to the green one. I started with the black one. It was too cold, believe it or not. All the sticky had gone off it. So what we do is we just get our shape here. Now we want, this is the important part here, which I can't even zoom in and show you, is that this needs to be on the outside of the enclosure and not inside. Otherwise, when we go to put the door on, it'll fall in. So your door is going to go here, and it's simply going to go close up and put against this glass. So, let's get this glued up in a few spots. I don't know how long this takes to glue. I'm hoping this won't fall apart when I pick it up. No, I don't. I also don't fancy holding that straight, so I'm going to keep it upright. That's worried about the glue running down the edges. Make sure that's where I want it first. I'll hold this glue. Let's have a look. Anyway, give me a minute, I'll come back when we've glued it up. Okay, so I've glued up. Hopefully all squared up. Now I've got to leave it for 2 hours, it says. So I'll come back in 2 hours. See how strong it is. Hopefully I can get rid of silicone sealant and that horrible smell it leaves and sticking to your fingers and all the other problems you have with silicone sealant. This is really clear, I've used it before, so even if it's on the glass you won't even be able to see it, you can see through it, it's so clear, it's brilliant. It's not that cloudy clear that silicone sealant has, so we'll check this out in 2 hours and see if we actually got a cubish thing, and then we'll figure out how to do the top. See you then. Well, I see it like this, as we have to wait 12 hours for the glue to set. It gives you plenty of time to click subscribe or like, and maybe leave a comment. I think that's a great idea. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so I'm a knob. I either didn't press record or I deleted the footage. Where I cut the bottom, you didn't miss much. All I've done is cut the bottom piece of glass exactly the same way as I cut the first piece of glass, only I measured it for the bottom of the enclosure. And I also put the hinges on for the door. Just two little doll's house hinges here. I just put this, taped it up, and glued the hinges on and left it overnight. So that was promising. Let's see what happens. We have a door that opens quite nicely there. Let me put a bit more tape on that because I'm going to now, important part, so we've got a box with a door at the front opening. Now I want to come up with some way of putting a mesh lid on this and being able to take it off and also open the door. So we have the two options of taking the lid off and opening the doorway. Let's see. Well, I was going to use wood for this part, but I found this plastic, which is extremely thin, about 2 millimeters, I think, maybe 3 maximum. No, it's 2. It's got to be 2. This also was out of a picture frame, but it's quite sturdy. It's a lot sturdier than what I thought. I was going to use lollipop sticks for my next bit, but I need some way of fixing the door, and I'm going to have to use a magnet for that. And I wanted a clear bit, so I'm going to be cutting a piece around this thickness. All will come to light when I make the top frame, if what I'm thinking in my head works. I'm going to cut this, put a magnet on it, and put a magnet on the door, and that should hold the door in place, hopefully. So I have to find a piece of this that isn't scratched, give it a quick clean up, and then cut them, and then I'll come back to you. Well, as hopefully you can see, I've cut a couple of pieces of plastic this big, and here is one of them I've taped to the top, so we have put our door up to there like so. Everything should be hunky-dory. So I'm going to super glue this in, and we're also going to glue on some of these little magnets. What we're going to do is we're going to be gluing the magnet somewhere in the middle here, and that will keep our door shut. I'll have to think of some way of putting a handle on here, but for now let's worry about getting this top. But that should be the door mechanism. So I'm just going to super glue this in here, in the corners, and then we'll worry about putting some kind of top that goes on in here with a mesh on it. That should do the trick. Whilst this is setting, I realised that because I didn't press the button earlier, I also didn't show you the hinges that I use, which I get from eBay, and they are so cheap you'd never believe it. And these guys are minuscule, really, really tiny. They are for dolls' houses, so I put in tiny dollhouse hinges in my search of eBay, and this is what I got. I think they're 10 milli, which is 1 centimetre. So I suppose that's just less than ½ inch, if you're still watching in black and white. And there was the hinges, and now that should be set. Okay, so this little framework here is made from wooden spoons. I suppose you could use lollipop sticks, would probably be a lot better because they don't go inwards or out there. But for these, I've just snipped the top off in the end, flattened them with a bit of sandpaper, and we'll make a little frame. It's going to sit on top, hopefully. And we'll see if that works, rather than having to cut more plastic. And this is what I ended up with. My top, which I've made out of little wooden sticks. Probably would have been best if I had doweling, but this is a Sunday afternoon and didn't have anything else available, so those with some mesh across the middle that just fits in the top, so it's ideal for tipping in fruit flies, etc. And that should just slot in, and a nice little door here at the front, the magnet. On hindsight, I would have used the clear glue rather than super glue, which seems to have stained the glass around it. I do believe I could probably get that off with a razor blade, which probably will do at a later date. This is also full of my fingerprints, but yeah, that will close onto there, as there's a magnet here, and it's not in the centre because it jumped there. So yeah, basically this is what I ended up with. There's an enclosure with a front door and a way of taking the top off if I want to. Could refine this idea, as I said, for starters, by using doweling instead of ends of wooden cutlery, and possibly I think this could be better off if it was a metal strip, and then you don't need one magnet onto there. That's another way of refining it. And yeah, possibly even thicker glass, because this glass was really, really difficult to cut because it was so thin. It was always at risk of breaking. So if you had to cut any really thin parts like this, for instance, you probably would break it. So yeah, what I'm going to do now with this is I'm going to get it so I can put a mantis in it. So let's have a crack at that. And this is an African lined mantis, or Mantis lineola, in his new little house. Now, I'm going to move the camera, so this might be a bit tricky with it, but let's have a look. There he is. In there, bit of lava up, bit of moss, bit of a stick. Let's just move this, and there we go. Plenty of, let's say, we'll redo this, have another think about it, but yeah, I think that's fine for these guys and nymphs until they get big enough to go in one of these. Yeah, and that cost very, very little. Done. And that was how I make a really, really cheap glass enclosure. Oh, Mantis in the top there. It would be perfect, I think, for jumping spiders and also mantis nymphs, because jumping spiders tend to make their webs on the top, so the front opening door combats that situation. And feeding fruit flies or whatever from the top, you can take the top off. Also, when the mantis stays on the top of the mesh, it's easy to get the mantis out. So there's that. And the front door for maintenance and yeah, when you want to move it on. But that, super cheap, super easy enclosure that can be refined with, as I said before, using maybe dowling wood to make the top and a metal strip here, and using the clear glue. I was in a rush because I wanted to get this done for Mantis Monday, because it wouldn't look right if it was Mantis Wednesday, because this glue takes quite a long time to set, and if I hadn't used the super glue, I just wouldn't have been ready by Mantis Monday. So I rushed stupidly, and yeah, but that's the badger. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you spend more time, if you make one, making the damn thing instead of rushing like I did. And you've got some basic ideas of how I made it. I'm going to make some more of these, and I'm going to take my time with them, and I'll show you in the future what I actually ended up with. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.